Laura and Mayk, welcome to Battleground Politics. Former Judge Patrick Dugan, the man who lost the Democratic primary for Philadelphia District Attorney, is now challenging incumbent Larry Krasner again, this time as the Republican nominee. I asked about a possible general election run when he sat down with me during the primary campaign. What happens if you lose the primary?
I'm not going to lose the primary.
What happens if you lose the primary?
So
Is there any chance that you would attempt to run in the general?
Oh, we have laws that say what you can and can't do. So
you don't think there's any way around that?
I know Pittsburgh, they did something out there, but I don't have any plans of running for anything after May 20th. But I know Pittsburgh, they did something with a write-in campaign out there, but I'm not involved with any things like that are going on.
So if you lose the primary, that's it?
No, I'm not going to lose the primary, but let's see what happens. I'm not sure what other people are trying to do.
That was former Judge Patrick Dugan on NBC 10 at Issue back in May when he was running in the Democratic primary for Philadelphia District Attorney. He did lose that election, but thanks to a write-in campaign on the Republican side, he's now challenging incumbent DA Larry Krasner again, this time as the GOP nominee. And he's back with us again in studio. Judge Dugan, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Before we talk about the race, I want to ask you about something in the news right now, something disturbing that we're all sort of watching play out, which is the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and just ask you what your thoughts are on that and what can be done to address the political violence that we're seeing in this country.
First of all, that's a horrible, horrible thing to happen, a violent crime to be committed on such a young man. Now, children are fatherless. This is terrible what happened to Charlie Kirk. If you disagree with what Charlie Kirk had to say, you go to the ballot box. You go to the colleges and you debate the man. You don't kill him. We cannot have this political violence in America. This is not who we are, and all sides need to tamp it down. We need to tell people this is not the solution. The only solution is go to the damn ballot box.
Is there anything that that you think would make a difference? Because we've unfortunately been here before too many times in recent memory. You know, is there anything that you think elected officials are not doing, or that the community at large is not doing to really turn a corner on this?
I think politicians need to tamp it down. When they talk this rhetoric on TV to rile up their supporters or their base so more people come out, we have to tamp it down because we're talking about lives. We're talking about real people on the other side. We have to talk more with each other instead of telling people to go in and challenge people, go in and harass the other side. Just take your side, go to the ballot box, stop the rhetoric from the top on down. Let's talk to our neighbors. Let's talk to the other side. That's exactly what I'm doing right now. I'm a Democrat, still registered Democrat, running as the Republican nominee, but I want a unity campaign. I want everybody, independents, Democrats, Republicans, Forward Party, Working Families Party, non-voters, people who can't vote. I want everybody to come together in this unity tent for Philadelphia to get safer. So that's what I'm trying to do right now. This is not about politics for me. This is about for all the people. And I think more politicians need to do that. We need to cross the aisle more. We have more in common in this country than you would believe when you watch TV. You would think everybody is either far left or far right. 80-some% of the people are probably more in the middle. We need to work together, bring everybody closer to the middle, because this rhetoric is not the way to go. And we saw some of the violence that occurred yesterday. And it's terrible that a young man is now dead. And I believe he was killed in front of his family. It was terrible.
Let's talk about the campaign that you just referenced, and you sort of laid out where you are as the Republican nominee, but still personally registered. You said as a Democrat. How does this work for you? Are you comfortable as the Republican nominee?
I'm comfortable because I'm back in the race. It's round 2. It wasn't something that I was really thinking about doing, but the opportunity arose. The Republicans did this write-in campaign like they did in Pittsburgh, And that candidate was successful. He's now the DA again. So am I comfortable? I'm comfortable about doing this because I'm not doing it. I wasn't doing it for the Democratic Party in the primary. I'm not doing it for the Republican Party right now. I am truly doing this for the victims' families, for those people out there drug addicted, having mental health, like this John Kelly that is, did the shooting at 12th and Chestnut.
Well, we'll get to that in a second, but let me ask you about this because, you said you weren't planning on doing this. You just mentioned Pittsburgh. We played a clip of when I asked you about this before, when you were running in the Democratic primary. Did you consider this a backup plan at that point?
I certainly had heard about it. In my mind, I wasn't going to do it. I really wasn't going to do it. But the opportunity's here. I wasn't going to give Mr. Krasner a free pass. Somebody had to step up. The Republicans also had the opportunity, if they had somebody else that they want to put on the ballot, they could have come to me and said, hey, we have a candidate that could run. Would you step aside? Nobody approached me on anything like that. And so many people approached me all summer. I'd be sitting on the beach with my grandkids and people say, hey, Dugan, are you going to take them on in the fall? Constantly, everywhere I went, people were approaching me, asking me to do it.
And how does this work? Do you support the rest of the Republican ticket? For example, there are judges up for retention. Democrats are saying that Supreme Court justices, Democrats are saying you should vote yes. Republicans are saying you should vote no. Where do you fall on that?
I'm falling that I'm running for the district attorney's job. I'm not getting into who should be supporting this judge or that judge. I will say that Justice Kevin Doherty is a good friend of mine, and I know I'm going to go in and hit him for a yes, but I'm not going to get into...
What about the other two?
I'm going to let my vote count when I go in there.
You don't know what you're going to do yet?
You know what? I'm going to be voting for those guys. But
All three of them.
I am not going to go around and worrying about a Republican running for this office or a Democrat running for that office. I am worried about the city of Philadelphia. This is Dugan v. Krasner. It is not Krasner v. Trump, and that's what he's trying to make it. Dugan versus Krasner.
Well, you will need, in order to win this, some Republican votes or independent votes. That's the assumption since you lost the Democratic primary. You had an ad in the primary that was pretty critical of President Trump, calling him a president bent on destruction. Do you still stand by that?
In the primary election, I am dealing with trying to get Democratic votes. In the general election, I am seeking the 240,000 now eligible voters that could not vote in the primary. 130,000 are Republicans.
Let me just interrupt you. Do you stand by that ad?
The ad was written, and it was, and, I'm moving on. I'm not running against Donald Trump. I'm running against Larry Krasner.
You put him in your ad. Why did you put him in your ad?
It was done. 2 seconds, 28 seconds of who I am as a man.
Let me ask you about something that could involve you as the district attorney and also President Trump, which is President Trump has sent National Guard troops to certain cities and talked about sending them to other cities. How would you feel about the potential for any National Guard troops being sent to the city of Philadelphia to address crime?
What I would say as a district attorney, nothing to do with that. There's an issue with posse comitatus. So as a JAG officer, I understand that there's a lot of legal hurdles that should occur. It's between the governor of Pennsylvania and the president of the United States about whether or not these folks get called up. But it's one of those things where I don't want the rhetoric, and I heard the rhetoric about harass the National Guardsmen and women. Get your cameras out and follow them. Every single National Guard, they're serving our nation. It's a part-time job for them. They're our neighbors from West Philly, Southwest Philly. They are ordered to do this. They salute, they do their job. They're going to go out there and stand on the corner if that's what's going to happen.
Would you be okay with that in Philadelphia? Do you think that would be useful?
I would prefer if we would do what President Clinton and the national government did in the 1990s and send us a couple $100 million so we could hire more cops, so more police officers can be out there doing community policing and interacting with people in a more positive way. I will also say that when we had the National Guard here after the riots a few years back, the National Guards, they were standing out there on the corners and they did help quell the riots without really interacting with anybody. I heard somebody being interviewed from Chicago who said, the woman was talking about, it's really good to have somebody standing on the corner now because I could walk down the street and know I'm not going to get robbed. So this was a woman in a part of Chicago that these crimes are prevalent. So that's really up to the president, the governor, and the mayor. But I also say that...
But if you were district attorney at the time, how would you feel about that?
If there's help out there in law enforcement, then so be it. It is what it is. I mean, I don't have any saying you can't come here. That's between, obviously, the president and the governor. Going back to when we had the National Guards on our street here, we also had hundreds of looters out there that our current district attorney withdrew all their cases. I sat personally doing the docket over 880 cases of looting, and the vast majority of those cases were withdrawn by the DA with no follow-up on each individual. He said he was going to send them somewhere for mentorship, never showed anything to the court, ever. Yet he withdrew them all. So my point is that his lack of holding people accountable was perhaps one of the reasons why we had the National Guard here in those days.
Let me ask you, you started to talk about a specific case here in Philadelphia, and I wanted to ask you about this case because I saw you on social media were critical of DA Krasner's decision to downgrade some charges regarding a shooting of a woman in Center City. And I want you, if you can, to walk me through what your thought process is on that case so that people understand what your approach would be.
Okay, so you have John Kelly, who's now accused of voluntary manslaughter. When you look at the evidence just that's on YouTube and whatnot, it sure looks like an execution. There was a struggle, but then that second shot sure looks like an execution to me. To downgrade that, I don't understand that. But if we go back and look at let's say the root causes, we got John Kelly, who's living on the streets, and he's got a long rap sheet. He appears to have mental health issues, likely drug issues. Why wasn't John Kelly in these diversion programs that municipal court and court of common pleas have done so well with over the years until Mr. Krasner came in? He obstructs people from getting in mental health court, veterans court, Dawn's court, drug and alcohol court. He doesn't want to put people in there. He wants to just not arrest. John Kelly could have gotten help. He could have been put on his meds under the supervision of a judge and helped turn their lives around, because that's what we've done in municipal court. That's what I did for years. So John Kelly should have been getting help with all these issues that he had. He wasn't getting it, and he could have gotten it through the courts.
You specifically were critical of the downgrading.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
So tell me what your analysis is of that decision, which would be a decision made by the district attorney's office.
Yes, you put a gun to somebody like that close and pull the trigger at their head after it was a struggle, and the other person is now subdued. That appears to be murder to me. And I'll tell you what, Mr. Krasner thinks it's murder if it's somebody wearing a badge. That double standard, that's what he does. So
you made your case regarding DA Krasner in the primary, and you lost, and it wasn't even close.
Correct.
What makes you think you're going to have a different result this time?
There's 241 more thousand people eligible to vote. And I'm hoping
there were a lot of people eligible to vote in the last election who didn't show up to vote.
Yeah, you know what? That's the big crime in this city. So like 17, 18.
You had the possibility. It wasn't like everyone who could come out to vote voted and you lost.
I know.
There were lots of other people you could have gotten.
84% of the people stayed home in the primary.
So why do you think you can get people out?
Because I'm going to look.
I mean, you didn't even. It wasn't close.
I lost by 41,000 votes, and I'm going to make them up in the general election. And everybody in the city of Philadelphia, so many people come up to me. When I first decided I was going to run, I'm at all these fancy parties over the holidays, and people all dressed up, and they know I'm a judge. I just retired. They come up to me, and the first two words they say is blank Krasner. I've been getting that since last December. Well, I heard it before that when I was a judge. So many people want him gone, but do not step up and vote. Larry Krasner's base comes out to vote. Every other Philadelphian, you need to get off the couch, get off your butt, and get out and vote, because you got to stop complaining. And there is a path to victory with the number, the more people who are eligible to vote. Plus, instead of 17%, if there were 40% comes out to vote, I know I'm going to win this election.
I wanted to ask you about something else that's been going on. There's been a lot of talk recently about SEPTA in Harrisburg. You're not running to go to Harrisburg, no. But the Senate bill, the Senate transit bill that passed, did have something in there that would have extended the SEPTA special prosecutor, which the SEPTA special prosecutor can take cases in Philadelphia for crimes on SEPTA. And it would have extended that term beyond 2026. How do you feel about that?
So I wish they never had to do it. The only reason they had to do it.
But they've got it now. So how would you feel about it being extended?
So if it's extended, it's extended. And I'm welcome the prosecutor to come in and go ahead and prosecute those crimes. But I'm telling you that my district attorney's office will prosecute crimes against workers on SEPTA, unlike Larry Krasner was not prosecuting all these criminals who are assaulting bus drivers and people who are working on SEPTA. He doesn't prosecute those people. That's why they came to support me, their union.
How would you work with that SEPTA special prosecutor? How would that work?
Well, I mean, so far I really haven't seen any crimes that have been prosecuted, but
they have started taking cases.
If he is doing this, then come on, we'll work together with his office. But I'm hoping in the long run, if I win this, we won't need them. We won't need the feds to come in to take over cases that Larry can't handle. The SEPTA, the special prosecutor, no, I'm going to prosecute those who are beating up our bus drivers.
All right, Judge Dugan, we're going to have to leave it there. Thanks for your time.
Thanks.
That does it for this episode of Battleground Politics. You can find more of my interviews on NBC10.com, the NBC10 app, our NBC Philadelphia YouTube page, or you can listen while you're on the go. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.